everyone, so today I'm going to be using a couple of different palettes from Wet n Wild to create today's look, both of which I've used countless times on my channel. They're a really good buy if you don't have them in your collection already. So I'm starting out by using this transition shade on a fluffy blending brush, and I'm tapping this into the crease. And it was about at this moment that I realised I forgot to prime my eyes and panic mode set in, but then I was like, sure, look, it's grand. I always have foundation on my lids anyway, or if I don't have foundation there, I'll have concealer there. So when I'm carving out under my brow with concealer, I blend it down onto the lids. So I did already have a base there. The issue for me though was that I didn't have powder over it to set it, and that's what I usually do if I'm not using a specific eyeshadow primer. It just means then today the skin is a little bit more, I suppose, tacky from the concealer, and therefore I'm going to need to work a little bit harder initially when I'm blending, but then it's fine. So if you do forget your primer like I did, don't panic. You just have to take your time with your shadows and just apply and blend as normal. So I'm adding this transition shade in a couple of nice light layers to build up the intensity, and once I'm happy with that, then the pigmentation and the blend, I'm switching to a smaller, more dense brush, and I'm using this to apply that same shade down along the lower lash line, making my way from outer to inner corner, and obviously making sure, as always, that it connects up on that outer edge. Now I'm using this orangey red eyeshadow, and I'm switching to a smaller blending brush because I need to be a little bit more precise with my application. So I'm tapping this down on the inner part of the eyelid, and then using little circular motions and moving my brush up a bit higher into the crease of the eye, and I'm rocking the brush back and forth, dispersing the shadow across the crease. And finally then I'm adding it to the outer third of the eyelid, just leaving a space in the centre of the lid bare because we're going for a spotlight effect today, or a halo eye as some people call it. And as always, I'm going back in, I'm grabbing some more eyeshadow on my brush, tapping away the excess product before I start, just to minimise the chance of fallout, and I'm repeating the process just so that I have a nice vibrant finish to the shadows. If you've slightly covered the centre of the lid, don't worry, you don't have to be really neat at this point because we will be cleaning up that section in a couple of minutes. It's just the neater that you can be now, the less cleanup you'll have later on. And I'm just going back in now with that first brush that I used to apply the transition shade, and using what's left on the brush from before, I'm dusting around the edges of the look just to make sure the transition shade fades nicely in with the red and that we've no harsh lines. And then I'm applying that red down along the lower lash line with my bullet shaped brush. Switching palettes now, I'm using the Wet n Wild Nude Awakening palette. I've already uploaded a couple of tutorials with this palette, which you all seem to love, so I'm busting it out again today, and I'm taking that dark red now, and I'm using this to add some depth to the look. I'm sweeping it in on the inner portion of the eyelid, and I'm not taking it as far across the lid as before because I want you to see the previous shade. And then as for the crease, I'm keeping it in a little deeper in the crease, and again for the same reason, I just don't want to cover up all the work that I've done previously. And as always, I'm just building up that colour little by little and really smoking it out when I get to the outer portion of the eye. I like to use little flicking motions. I flick the brush upwards and outwards, pulling the shadow in the direction, like in this direction I should say. It just helps to lift and elongate the eyes. So just blend, 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 and when you think you're done, you're not. Blend some more. But once I'm happy with how that looks, then I'm moving down again to the lower lash line, and I'm smoking that shade down there. Now if you don't want the look to be as dramatic as this, you could use a smaller brush, like an angled brush, and that'll just keep the shadow closer to the lash line. But as I said, I want drama. I'm then picking back up that first brush, going back in around the edges of the look now to make sure everything is nice and soft and blended. To clean up the centre of the lid now, I'm taking some of the Photo Focus concealer on a flat C-shaped synthetic brush, and I've added the concealer to the back of my hand. I've picked some up on the brush, and now I'm applying it to the lid, and it just stops me from over applying the product. So I've started at the lash line, and now I'm working my way up towards the crease. I'm letting the shape of the brush do all of the work for me, so just tap, 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 tapping it down and letting the curved shape of the brush cut out the crease. And you'll notice then that I've taken the concealer kind of over the shadow in the inner and outer third of the lid, and this is just because by overlapping it, it'll help me when I'm blending in a moment, and I don't want there to be a harsh edge whereby you can see where the concealer starts and the shadow ends. So I'm going back in now with that first ready orange shade and my fluffy blending brush, and I'm sweeping this once again on the inner and outer corners of the eye. I'm using quite large circular motions, and I'm holding my brush very lightly just to get a nice soft blend. Then I'm doing the exact same thing now with the darker red. I'm reapplying it on the outer and inner corners just to make sure, for one, that it can still be seen, and two, that it fades in with the other products on the eye. To set that concealer in place now, and to also add some sparkle to the centre of the lid, I'm taking this golden orangey shimmery shadow. It's just beautiful, and I'm using a flat C-shaped brush to pat this onto the centre of the lid. If you wanted it to sparkle a bit more, you could spray your brush with some water beforehand, or some setting spray, and that'll really help those shimmery particles to pop. But I just like the effect that the shadow gave on its own. So to add some depth now, I'm taking this matte black eyeshadow, and I'm using a slim eye definer brush. It's just a thin, kind of tapered blending brush, and I'm buffing this around the eye area. So starting on the inner portion of the eye, then adding it to the outer corner of the eye, and then I'm marrying the two together into the crease. And I want that crease line to be a little bit more defined now, so I'm taking a small angled brush and I'm tapping some of the black eyeshadow down just in a long line where I cut the crease earlier. I'll be adding some false lashes in a few, so I'm going to go back in now with the black eyeshadow. I'm tapping it along the upper lash line because I want some definition along there to hide the lash band of the false lashes that I'm going to be applying in a moment. And next then I'm taking this wine coloured eyeliner. It's from Urban Decay and it's called Alkaline. It's a really unusual colour and I get loads of wear out of it. So I'm just running this inside the eye, making sure that waterline is nice and strong. Then I'm switching back to my angled brush and I'm taking up some more black eyeshadow, and I'm just tapping this into the lashes. So just right into the lashes, pulling the brush down slightly to fade out the black. Then I'm adding some false lashes. These are the style Dubai by Sosu. You can get them in Pennies, or I actually got them online because of lockdown. I wasn't up in Dublin. I haven't been to Pennies in months and months and months and months. But I've added the lashes and now I'm using the Mega Length mascara to blend my own lashes in with the false ones. And then that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you found it helpful and easy to follow. And I will catch you all in a video really soon.